we are going to start the show discussing RFK Jr. And we are not going to watch the entire session that took place. I think this clip that we're about to watch has the clip that I want to talk about, i.e. Not to listen to him on matters of health, but let's go ahead and we are going to watch this clip and do some reactions to it and see how it goes, shall we?
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Secretary Kennedy, I want to talk to you about your relationship with this committee and this Congress. I want to talk to you about...
Are they dating? Are they in a commitment? Is it a situationship?
About the statements that you made to the chairman of this committee and to members...
And yeah, chairman of the committee is Senator Bill Cassidy from the state of Louisiana, who happens to be a doctor. And he had some minor concerns, apparently, about whether or not he would vote for RFK Jr. to lead the Department of Health, specifically based on his feelings on vaccines and, whether or not people should take them or whether or not people should be forced to take them. And he was given assurances and promises that he would, have at least conversations with Bill Cassidy about this. And I said back then that Bill Cassidy is one of the biggest fools in the world if he believed anything that RFK Jr. said about vaccines and having a good vaccine policy. There's no assurances there. There was no, we're going to remove you from office, because once he's in there, you'd have to impeach him or something. So anyway, let's continue.
Members of this committee during your confirmation hearing about vaccines, you didn't tell the truth. I find that to be really dangerous for our relationship. If I were the chairman who believes in vaccines and voted for you because he believed what you said about supporting vaccines, my head would be exploding. In the hearing, you told...
That would make a real big mess all over the Senate chambers, and that would just not be a good thing. But, same point that I just made.
Told us, quote, I will not work to impound, divert, or otherwise reduce any funding appropriated by Congress for the purpose of vaccination programs. That's not the truth. You've done exactly. Let me finish my question.
Yeah, I didn't hear what you said. I'm just asking you to repeat it so I can.
He didn't hear what he said. What are you doing? I mean, is the brainworm just, has it made its way to the ear? Is it eating its way around, the eardrums and taking that out as well? I mean, were you just looking at your phone and not paying attention to what the senator was asking you?
I can understand your question.
During the hearing, I'll repeat it. During the hearing, you said to this committee and to the Finance Committee, I will not work to impound, divert, or otherwise reduce funding appropriated by Congress for the purpose of vaccination programs. That is not what happened. You've done the opposite. You canceled $12 billion in grants to the states, including my state, that are used to administer and track vaccines. You promised Chairman Cassidy.
When did I do that?
Madam Chair, would you allow me to finish my question?
Keep going with your question.
When did I do that?
Let me finish my question.
Accusation. Just tell me when I did it so I can understand what the question is.
You have canceled $12 billion in public health grants to states, whether you know.
And he claims that he doesn't do it, but again, maybe the brainworm just kind of got that part of the memory that he doesn't remember anything he does. Or maybe he has a new brainworm because he was swimming in the crap water near Washington, D.C. with his grandkids. Anybody who allowed their kids to swim in that should have their kids taken away from them. Let's just say that, because you are endangering your children, your grandchildren, or whatever. That is endangerment of their health. And this is the guy that's the head of the Department of Health.
Know this or not, that funding is used by the states in part to be able to administer and dispense information about vaccines. Mr. Secretary, let me give you the full panoply of
accusations,
the things you said before this committee that didn't turn out to be true. You also...
That's typical MAGA actions, though. Deny and deflect. So that's what MAGA does. That's what Trump does. That's what Caroline Leavitt does. That's what all of them do. They deny, and then they deflect, and then they play whataboutisms or whatever.
Promised Chairman Cassidy that the FDA would not change vaccine standards from, quote, historical norms. But what happened as soon as you were sworn in? You announced new standards for vaccine approvals that you proudly referred to in your own press release as a radical departure from current practice. And experts say that that departure will delay approvals. You also said, specific to the measles vaccine, that you support the measles vaccine, but you have consistently been undermining the measles vaccine. You told the public that the vaccine wanes very quickly. You went on the Dr. Phil show and said that the measles vaccine was never fully tested for safety. You said there's fetal debris in the measles vaccine. And
let's talk about the fetal debris thing for a second, shall we? Because this is a common thing and a common misunderstanding by conservatives, MAGA types, even before MAGA was a thing. These people believed that there were fetal remains in all sorts of different things, in Tylenol, in Pepsi, and now in vaccines. These people believe that, these fetal remains, like these stem cell lines that come from like aborted fetuses back in the 70s. Like, these stem cell lines are used in research. They're used in, development of products like Pepsi. They're used in development of products like Tylenol or whatever painkiller was used, maybe all of them. And they're used, I guess, in the creation of the MMR vaccine. I think specifically the rubella portion, if I'm remembering that correctly. Now, what they don't understand, what these poorly educated folks don't understand, or willfully ignorant folks don't understand when they say that, especially, RF Kennedy Jr., who's irresponsibly pushing these things, is this. Just because you use stem cells from, stem cell lines that are from, way back in the 70s, that were created from aborted fetuses, just because you're using that in your research, just because you're using that for testing of the item or whatever it is that you're developing, it doesn't mean that the product that you sell contains those stem cells. Stem cells are not an ingredient to the product. They were used for testing the product. But these poorly educated, willfully ignorant, ill-informed idiots can't grasp that simple concept. And if you can't grasp that simple concept, you, A, shouldn't be having a conversation about this, or shouldn't even be discussing this issue. You have no business discussing any issue pertaining to those things. Furthermore, you also shouldn't be the head of the Department of Health of this country, Health and Human Services. You should not be in charge of that if you don't understand how stem cells are used, embryonic stem cell lines are used in the development and testing of a product. And that doesn't mean, again, that you have those stem cells in the drink when you in a Pepsi, or in the Tylenol or whatever drugs used, or in the vaccine. Anyway, let's continue.
This morning,
all true.
This morning,
and he says all true. He goes, this is all true, that you absolutely have fetal remains in your vaccines that that get injected into your body. That is not true. He is either purposefully lying to mislead the MAGA supporters because they want to hear that and they want to, have their cognitive biases fed, or he really is that big of an idiot and the brain worm has taken up more room in his skull than the actual brain itself because it's full, and he actually believes that BS. I'd say it's about 50-50 as to whether or not he's just that stupid or if he's just that dishonest. And maybe it's a little bit of column A and a little bit of column B. So, Mad Mac, he has fecal remains in his body. Well, absolutely, he definitely has fecal remains in his body after swimming in that creek or whatever it was in D.C. I would be much more worried about the fecal remains there. I mean, holy crap. And his kids, unfortunately, or his grandkids, will have those fecal remains in him as well. Ugh.
Do you want me to lie to the public?
That's not.
No, we don't want you to lie to the public. We want you to stop lying to the public.
None of that is.
Of course it's true. Of course it's true, Senator. Senator, begging your product. You do not know what you're talking about.
The look of this guy is just like, what? Why am I here? Why am I right behind this fool?
Submit for the record
Let's have a little bit of order so that you can get
Madam
your
Chair,
question
I'm
and he can get
I didn't
his
ask.
statement.
I didn't ask for a response yet.
I
I'd
understand
like to
that.
lay out the predicate of my question before I'm interrupted by the witness. He should
Go
have some
ahead.
respect for this committee.
Go ahead.
Just this morning in front of the House of Representatives, you also said that you, in fact, would not recommend that kids get vaccinated for measles. You said you would just lay out the pros and cons. Okay, so this is
The pros and cons. Pros, you protect yourself from getting measles, and you protect other people from getting measles. The cons, there are none, unless you happen to be one of the few people who a doctor would legitimately say are incapable of taking a vaccine. And as such, the additional pro is that, you need the help of those other people to protect you. That's that second pro, protecting other people. But again, MAGA conservatives and idiots like RFK Jr. don't give a crap about protecting others. They don't feel it's their responsibility. That's why you saw all their actions during the pandemic, because your health is your responsibility. I am not my brother's keeper. In other words, let's continue.
the summation of everything that you have said to compromise people's faith in the measles vaccine in particular is contrary to what you said before this committee. You said you support the measles vaccine, but then you have laid out a set of facts that are contested, and I will submit information for the record from experts who contest what you've said about the vaccine. And
he says contest, not can test. He said it a little weird, but just want to make sure that that's clear.
result is to undermine faith in the vaccine. It's kind of like saying, listen, I think you should swim in that lake, but the lake is probably toxic and there's probably a ton of snakes and alligators in that lake, but I think you should swim in it. No.
It's not the snakes and the alligators that are toxic. It's the frickin' poo that's being, flowing into that, body of water that him and his family were swimming in.
Nobody's going to swim in that lake if that's what you say. And so I want you to acknowledge that when you say...
Unfortunately, though, there was a big sign that says, don't swim here. You can get sick. And he didn't listen to that either. He's setting the example of don't listen to government when they tell you to do stuff. What a great example.
You support the measles vaccine and then go out and repeatedly undermine the vaccine with information that is contested by public health experts. That is not supporting the vaccine. And so I guess I have two simple questions for you. One is...
I'm sure he is going to make the answers to those simple questions. He'll be either making them complex or he won't even understand them. But again, I haven't watched the whole thing. I've just seen clips. I haven't watched this whole segment. I've just seen little bits and pieces of it. So let's continue.
Can you clarify what you said in the House this morning? Are you or are you not recommending that families get their children vaccinated, or are you just giving people the pros and cons? And do you understand that when you say these things...
Do you understand? The immediate answer to that should be no. Don't ask him if he understands anything, because he doesn't. If he thinks that fetal remains are in the MMR vaccine, he doesn't.
About the measles vaccine, what ends up happening is less people get the vaccine. That may be what
Fewer.
You want, but do you understand that the result of constantly questioning the efficacy or safety of the vaccine results in less people getting the vaccine? So I don't necessarily...
Fewer. I don't know why English is so stupid. If we want to say that there is a higher number of something, it doesn't matter if it's countable or not. We say more. But if it's not countable, you say less. If it's countable, you say fewer. English is so stupid. Anyway, let's continue.
necessarily want to spend the remaining 20 seconds in an argument over this.
See, and here's the thing. I will criticize Democrats too. See, I'm criticizing his language, his use of words. I'm being a grammar Nazi.
Science, but do you at least understand that that's the consequence of what you're saying? And are you actually
Do you understand that's a consequence? No, he does not. I'll answer that for you, Senator.
still recommending people get the vaccine, or are you not?
Senator, if I advised you to swim in a lake that I knew there to be alligators in, wouldn't you want me to tell you there were alligators in it?
So are you recommending the measles vaccine or not?
What I've said and what I said in...
Doesn't sound like you are. If that's...
Are you going to let me answer? Or are you going to keep interrupting?
Are you or are you not?
Are you going to let me answer? What I pledged before this committee during my confirmation is that I would tell the truth, that I would have radical...
And you have not. if you're going to say that fetal remains are in, now he might not be lying. There's one thing about, Chris Murphy. Now, he said that RFK Jr. is lying. And again, I'll be nitpicky about this too. If RFK Jr. really believes that there are fetal remains in the vaccines that you take, it's a false statement. But if he believes it, it's not a lie. It's still a false statement. And he's still an idiot for saying it. And he has no business being in charge of the Department of Health if he believes that. Because there's plenty of information out there for him to educate himself as to why. But technically, it's not a lie. It's just a falsehood. Anyway, let's continue.
Transparency. I'm going to tell the truth about everything we know, and we
Nope.
don't know about vaccines.
Are you recommending the measles vaccine?
I am not going to just tell people everything is safe and effective if I know that there's issues. I need to respect people's intelligence.
I think you're answering the question.
He has to respect people's intelligence when he has none. I mean, I guess, you should respect people's intelligence, but you should actually respect the intelligence of the experts who are telling you that you're full of shit.
I think you're
And the
answering
reason
the question. That's
that people-
really dangerous for the American public and for families.
The reason people have lost faith in this program is because they've been lied to by public officials for
Secretary of
year
Health and
after
Human
year
Services
after
no
year.
longer recommending the measles vaccine.
Senator Marshall.
Anyway, so there's that. There's that lovely little bit of video. Of course, that piece of video did not include the one thing where he says, you should not listen to me on issues of health. In that committee hearing, he also said, you should not listen to me on matters of health. I'm sorry, aren't you the head of the Department of Health and Human Services? Aren't you the person that we should be able to listen to and trust when it comes to issues of health? No? I mean, that just goes to show you what we all knew well before his confirmation, that he had no business serving in that position. That he's a quack, he's a kook, and he's completely and horribly misinformed. And he's dangerous, especially with, wanting to make an entire registry of people who, have autism or who are autistic. He's dangerous, and as Senator Murphy said, his constantly putting doubt or allowing the doubts that other people have to be cultured and like a culture where you test for strep or whatever, and it grows in that culture. His doing that is making it unsafe for children in this country, because now we have people who are dying, kids who are dying in this country because their parents listen to quacks like that and then don't get their kids vaccinated with a vaccine that's proven to be safe and effective. And then when those kids get it, it creates vectors of transmission for other people to get it. And that's how we get epidemics. That's how we get pandemics. That's how people get sick and die. That's why we have, or had, hundreds of thousands of needless deaths during the Trump administration during the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic. Because he enabled those lies about that vaccine and the virus and social distancing and masking to be perpetuated. And by doing so, it put others at needless risk. So again, what do you think? Do you agree with RFK Jr. That there are fetal remains in vaccines? Are you just going to double down on being wrong, or do you think that RFK Jr. has absolutely no business serving in the Department of Health, and his recent statements just solidify that fact? Anyway, leave your comments down below. Remember to like the video, share, subscribe to the channel, and unless you're a Nazi or agree with RFK Jr. on the whole MMR vaccine thing, have a good day.